Hello everybody, it's the Warhipster here, coming at you with another Contrast Plus painting tutorial, and today we are painting the new Rogal Dorn Battle Tank. Yes, here it is. This fearsome war machine is about to terrorize the battlefields of the 41st millennium, and we are going to be painting it up today. I'm really excited to do this. Thank you so much to Games Workshop for sending this to me nice and early to build up, paint and review for all of you. And well, we are going to jump in and we are going to start painting him. I've primed it in Mechanicus standard grey because we're going for a really dark green here with some camo patterns on it, but we didn't want to spend our entire lives getting it down to sort of the really dark green that we want it to be. So I've done this Mechanicus standard grey as this kind of dark base coat first, and well, it's really very effective. And the other thing to point out is, even though the tank doesn't have a bottom, as you can see, it's just missing a square from the inside. I'm not sure why. It means we can hold it quite comfortably like this and paint the whole thing. So, with all that out of the way, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to work on the green. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a roughly 1-to-1 mix of Contrast Medium and Dark Angels Green. Except what we've done is we've taken 5 brushfuls of Dark Angels Green and 5 brushfuls of Contrast Medium to make this really nice puddle of thinned down green. And we're just going to start painting this over the top of all of our armor. Now what we want to do is we want to just be very methodical here, and we want to start working our way along each of the panels using a decent sized brush. Now I've got an Artis Opus Series S size 3 here, which is pretty perfect for this kind of thing. And we just want to take this a panel at a time. You don't want to kind of just attack the miniature. So if you do that, you may end up with some streaking, which you don't want. So I'm just going to hit this panel first. Just like that. So with our first panel done, we then move on to our next one. I'm just going to go across here. As you can see, that Mechanicus standard grey and Dark Angels Green combination just absolutely makes doing something like this a lot easier. It's not always applicable for some colours. Some reds and things appear too kind of greyish when you do this, but I find that Dark Angels Green over the top of these dark greys gives us that kind of perfect army tone. We did something very similar in the various Cadia stands videos with the Ordnance Battery, for example, or Sentinel, by thinning down Black Legion, which we could have done here, but on something of this size, it's almost a waste of Black Legion at that point. You just use so much of it. And again, all of our usual contrast painting techniques apply here. Just taking it steady, moving our way across the model, being nice and methodical. So with that section now done, we can move on to the next one. And again, just taking it a panel at a time. just like this. And then we've got some really large panels here. It doesn't matter if it's not 100% perfect, because we are going to be doing, as I mentioned, the lovely kind of Rogal Dorn dark green camo pattern. So if we get some really blobby mistakes, we could just cover it over with camo. So with that Dark Angel's green mix applied all over our tank, we've got a very green tank, which is perfect. However, what we're going to do now is we're going to add in some of that camo. And after looking at it, it's not really that black. It's actually got this more kind of turquoisey finish to it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a roughly 2 parts contrast medium to 1 part Terradon Turquoise mix. And we're going to use this to add in our little patches of camouflage. Now this is kind of where you just get to have a little bit of fun. But what you want to do is you want to kind of draw in these large kind of shapes. So I'm just going to do one kind of around here. The tough thing is to know where to start. You just got to start doing it. And we're just going to draw a line like this. And then we're just going to block it in. You won't really need tons of paint on your brush when you're doing this, because it's already quite dark. Now that sort of thing. Now one thing to recommend is that you always have your turret on looking straight, because if you want to do any kind of stripes that say start here and go up over the turret, you don't want it to be twisted one way, because then when you twist it back it'll look a bit strange. But otherwise you just want to kind of go all the way around the tank like this sort of thing. So I'm going to do another one. Around about there. I'm just going to block it in. And by doing things like this, this is one of those ways where you can kind of mask any mistakes you might have made. Any slightly blobby patches. But yeah, otherwise you just want to go around doing your camouflage. So with that done, you should have this pretty awesome looking tank. Oh man, it looks so good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add some highlights to it, and we're going to be doing a series of dry brushes. Now the first one we're going to be doing is Sunz of Horus Green, and we're going to be dry brushing this over the areas that we've done the Terradon Turquoise. It doesn't matter if it overlaps into the Dark Angel's green bits just a bit, that's okay. So with that Sunz of Horus green dry brush applied to the darker areas, what we then do is we take some Straken Green and we're going to apply this over our brighter areas. And so with that Straken Green applied all over, what we're now going to do is going to apply our final dry brush, and this is going to be some Ogryn Camo. And what we're going to be looking for here is the sharpest bits all over the model. So we're looking for really hard edges here. You just want to be really gentle. And just take your time. So with that done, we now have an absolutely fantastic looking tank, even if I do say so myself. I think that looks absolutely cracking. So what we're going to do is move on now to the rest of the details. The first colour we're going to use is Militarum Green. I'm going to apply this over the top of all the wheels and the drums on the back. So with that Militarum Green applied to all of those areas, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some Black Legion. I'm going to be using rather a lot of this. So what we're going to... I need to sneeze. So with that Militarum Green all applied, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some Black Legion. We're going to apply this to a number of different details. So we've got the casings of the weapons, the sponson guns. We've got the casings and the engine on the back. We've got the casings of the weapon, the pintle mounted weapon, the heavy stubber. We've got leather straps and things like that scattered around the model. That we're going to pick out with this colour as well as any other details that you want to be black. So with that Black Legion all applied, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Iron Warriors and we're going to apply this over the top of all of our silver details. Now this is going to include areas such as the tracks and the weapons and the decorations such as the aquillas and skulls and things. There's a lot of silver details on these guys, so just take your time and make your way around the model, picking out all of the silver. It'll be a little while. So with all of that silver applied, as you can see, I've also added some grey sear to the areas that I want to do some contrast painting on, because I miss it ever so much. Not that we haven't been contrast painting this entire time, but what we're going to do now is we're going to take some Cygor Brown and we're going to apply this over the top of areas such as these bags and things like that. So with that Cygor Brown applied, we're then going to take some Wyldwood and we're going to apply this over the top of the box, which we haven't done in Grey here because Wyldwood over Mechanicus Standard Grey gives us a nice pleasing dark wood. See, there's a reason for everything. So with that done, we're now going to take some Aggaros Dunes and we're going to apply this over the top of our sandbags. And so with that Aggaros Dunes applied, we then take Skeleton Horde and we're going to apply this over the top of the rope. And the little bedroll that's just there, and the large bedroll over on the other side. So with that now done, we've just got one last base coat to apply, and that is going to be some thinned down Castellax Bronze. And we're going to apply this over the top of, well, all of our remaining details. So with that done, all of our base coats are now on the tank. So what we're going to do is we're going to add one shade, and that is going to be Agrax Earthshade, and it's going to be over the top of all of our metallics and the sandbags. But otherwise, we're just going to be applying this all over the top, like so. And you can just really layer it on thick with the tracks. So with that Agrax Earthshade all applied, we're then going to take Agrax Earthshade once again, and we're going to apply this over the top of the tank tracks. So with that second lot of Agrax Earthshade applied to the tracks, our tank is now what I would call a Warhipster battle ready, and it's already looking pretty fantastic. However, we're not going to leave it there. We're going to take it to the next level by adding a few more highlights. And the first one we're going to do is some thinned down Russ Grey, and we're going to be using this to highlight all of the black details. So I'm just going to start here. And work my way around. So with that Russ Grey applied, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some Leadbelcher, and we're going to use this to dry brush the tracks. So with that Leadbelcher dry brush all applied, what we're then going to do is we're going to take some Leadbelcher once again on our small dry brush, and we're going to stipple this over the top of the barrel. Just want to secure it a little bit better than I did the first time there. And we want to do this around about, oh, there's a new brush wanting to say hello, around about the kind of the middle part of the barrel. Like that, because we want this to be quite worn out looking weapon. It looks pretty cool. So with the stippling and the dry brushing applied, we're going to still stick with Leadbelcher just for the moment, because what we are going to do now is on the rest of our metallic, well, the rest of our silver details, is we're now going to add some highlights. We don't want these highlights to be too bright, that's why we're using Leadbelcher here. This wants to be a proper industrial tank. Just like that sort of thing. So with that Leadbelcher all applied, we're then going to take some thinned down Runelord Brass. I'm going to use this to highlight all of our Castellax Bronze areas. These are the melter gun barrels and the engine block. So with that Runelord Brass applied, we're then going to take some Nurgling Green. I'm going to use this to highlight our wheels and the drums. So with that Nurgling Green applied, we're then going to take some thinned down Zandri Dust, and we're going to use this to highlight the bags. So with that Zandri Dust applied, there's actually quite a lot of it. It's more of a relayer, but those sandbags are looking fantastic now. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some Asurmen Blue and we're going to paint this onto the windows. So we've got 3 of these. There's one in here. Like that. And we've got the big one on the front. And we're also going to paint this over the top of the arched lens on the turret. So this one just here. So with that Asurmen Blue applied, we then take some Flesh Tearers Red and we apply this over our remaining lenses. So with that done, we've just got 2 things left to do. One is the marking that you can see on the box art that goes on this little area here on the front of the tank on both sides, and the other is the spotlight. The first colour we're going to start with to do this is Wraithbone. So what we're going to do is we're going to thin some down on our palette, and up here on the spotlight what we're going to do is in between the metal we're going to add the Wraithbone, like that sort of thing. like that. Whereas on that marking, what we're going to do is there's 3 lines. We've got 2 bone and 1 red. So we're going to start with the bone. So we're just going to divide this kind of round thing in half, first and foremost. And then we're going to draw a line coming down like this. And we're going to draw a line on the top as well, coming over like that. And then we've got our next bone section, which is going to come on the opposite side of this rivet just here. So again, we're just going to draw a line down here, goes over this like that, and then over the top. And then we just want to block it in. So I'm just going to wash the brush. I'm going to draw my final bit, which just goes in line with this device here. Like that. And then we want to blockade this section and this section. And we'll do this on both sides. So with that Wraithbone applied, what we then do is we take Evil Sunz Scarlet and we apply this over the stripe in the middle. So with both of those colours now applied, what we're going to do is we're going to take some Agrax Earthshade and we're going to apply this over the top of both. So with that Agrax Earthshade applied, it's now as dark and dingy as the rest of our tank. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some Iyanden Yellow and we're going to apply this over the top of our lantern, or spotlight I should call it. Like that. So with that all done, our Rogal Dorn is now finished. It looks absolutely fantastic. However, what we're not going to do is leave it there. Well, you could leave it there, you could just call it done, but I'm not going to. I want to add a little bit more battle damage and weathering to this guy. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Now I'm going to do some little kind of scratches and scruffs on the paintwork. And the colour I'm going to be using for this is Black Legion, first of all. I'm going to be using a tiny little brush here. And what I want to do is, for example, just around here, I want to add some little marks like this. So with that Black Legion all applied, we then take a teeny tiny amount of Leadbelcher. We add this inside our little black scuffs. Still continuing with the chipping, what we're going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Caliban Green and we're going to apply this at the kind of edges of our markings. You can also apply this as little scuffs. So with that done, we're then going to take some thinned down Ogryn Camo and we're going to use this to highlight all of our cuts and scrapes. So for example, around here, like this. You don't need to do every edge. The bottom one is generally enough to give it that kind of 3D nature. And so here we have it, our Rogal Dorn Battle Tank, all finished and ready to be deployed to the battlefield. I think it's a really, really cool tank. I'm a bit pleased with how it's come out, especially that camo pattern. I think it looks fantastic. I can absolutely see myself doing some Leman Russ up like this as well, and maybe even more Rogal Dorn Battle Tanks. Who knows what the future holds for Warhipster towers. But for now, we can just bask in the glory of this one. I think it's absolutely fantastic, and I love it to bits, just as it's going to blow my enemies to bits. Bits all around. If you enjoyed this video, you love the channel, and you want to support me further like these legends and bosses on the screen before you, you can do so. Head to patreon.com/warhipster or head to ko-fi.com/warhipster. Alternatively, you could become a YouTube member by heading to the channel page and clicking on the join button just here, just like these amazing, wonderful people have done. And if you really like this video or you just want to shoot me some support, you can click on the thanks button just below this video. Don't forget to share it, like it, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And to make sure you stay up to date, don't forget to click the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Happy wargaming.